Hello guys! So today we're going to talk about noses, about different shapes of noses. Before we start contouring them, I think we should really understand if we should contour them or not. And to understand that, we need to see the types of noses that exist in the world. Of course, every nose is different because it has very complicated shape. It has loads of different curves. I tend to think that people in general just pay too much attention on that detail. And I am sure nose as a feature is not super important. But it can really give a character and uniqueness to the face. Nose basically is several shadows and several light areas on the surface of our face. And this is it. If I just wanted to draw somebody's face with a pencil, I would definitely pay attention on those dark parts around a person's nose. Darker parts mean that there's more curve, more volume. It's hard to understand when you just look at the face like that. But let me go to a simple photo editor. Let me remove color from the picture. And let me add a lot of contrast. And then we start seeing those shadows very precisely. Let's take another face. Let's say Asian girl with a very flat nose. Let's make this girl's picture black and white, and then let's add a lot of contrast. And now we can see better the difference. This nose has this kind of shadows, and this nose has different kind of shadows. What does that mean, that the nose is flat? If we look at the side profile of the picture of this girl, we can see that the bridge of their nose and the eyes level is very close to each other. Let's compare it to the opposite. Lana Del Rey, you can see her nose is coming forward. That means if we look on her like that, she would have dark shadows here. The more forward the bone is, the deeper the shadow here. If the nose is flat, there's almost no shadow here. And I think nose itself as a feature is very interesting because different bones can really make it work for you. Different angular bones that are bigger here or bigger here, bridge of the nose. I think everything works for you if you think so. Here's the model, beautiful black and white picture. To me, if she had very classic, straight and tiny nose, I would forget her face. But she has that beautiful bone, which is a little bit on a man's side, makes her look natural and edgy. And I love it so much, and I admire those faces. Now, the width of the nose. Sometimes it can be wider or narrower in different parts of the nose. It also creates that unique shape. Sandra Bullock, her nose is a bit on the wider side. It is approximately same width from the top of her nose to the bottom. Selena Gomez, it's short, proportionately, but it's pretty wide. Jennifer Lawrence has very pretty tiger-like nose. I call those noses tiger noses because they normally have pretty wide bridge of their nose here in the eyes area. It's a bit wider in the middle. Olivia Wilde, her nose is on the longer side. She has that very beautiful elongated downturned tip of her nose. I don't know how to call that feature, but I see this sometimes on different faces like Audrey Hepburn. Jennifer Lopez has pretty wide nose. She likes to contour it very often. She lifts the tip of her nose up a little bit, and also her nose is very curved and flat. Scarlett Johansson has a pretty rounded, beautiful nose. It's not small, but if it was smaller, then I think the rest of her face would look a little bit too rough. But as far as she has very feminine and rounded features and bones on her whole body, that nose really fits her face so well. You never put attention on that. If we see her side profile, it's a little bit elongated on the tip. She even doesn't try to contour it. Rosie Huntington, one of the richest models out there now. If we look at her nose separately from her, then it's not ideal, it's not classic nose. It's pretty wide, it's pretty long. But look how gorgeous her face looks with that. Just imagine her with a very classic general nose. She would not be her. And I think this is the most important feature for her. And she doesn't try to contour it too much as well. Look at that actress, wider nose, and I think that nose really fits the whole rounded appearance that these girls have. She's wonderful. Look at her lips. Keira Knightley has a very interesting shape of her nose. It's pretty narrow here in that area, and then it goes wider, and then it goes just straight, right into the nostrils. She almost doesn't have those nostrils. Very similar nose is on Angelina Jolie's face. Monica Bellucci also has very small, tiny nostrils. There's another type of noses, sharp noses. The noses with a bit sharpened tip, like Megan Fox. It looks a bit wild on the face, very edgy and very dramatic. It sharpens some features of the face. Another girl with sharpened nose is Madonna. She also has that prominent nostrils and very sharp tip. John Lennon, but let's talk about girls. There's one very interesting nose, like Heidi Klum. This nose is super narrow, right in the middle. If we imagine her with just classic shape of the nose, then she would just be a pretty girl, but she would not have that edge. Julia Roberts has pretty interesting nose shape, and her nose is a bit crooked. That means it has a curve. Sometimes they contour her nose when she's on red carpet, but normally she doesn't do this. I have never put any attention on her nose before today when I started preparing this video. Her face looks a bit different when she looks a bit to the right. She has that bump. When she looks to the left, she has that kind of nose. It can be corrected a little bit with dark powder, and we'll talk about it later. Ariana Grande, she has very cute nose, which is pretty long proportionately, because she has very close set eyes, so her nose looks pretty long and goes very down to her upper lip. This actress is Japanese, I think. Look at that very uncommon nose for that type of face, which really makes her stand out. She has a very doll face kind of features, but then this nose gives her that very strong element. There are noses with super narrow bridge, like this girl, Diana Kruger. Her nose is in general pretty sharp. That also gives some edginess to her face. Otherwise, she would be too classic, too common. This girl has pretty wide nose, and she has pretty massive nostril area, which is also, I think, super cute. It's more like a doll nose for me. Rihanna's nose is pretty wide. She also doesn't care too much, and on many pictures she doesn't contour it at all. Gigi Hadid, she has pretty wide nose too. This is what gives her that youth effect, gives the whole harmony of her face with those very childish cheeks, but at the same time very feminine body. There are some faces with open nostrils. When you see the nostrils here on the sides, they're pretty long and they go like two lines. I love that kind of noses, and Fern Cotton has that kind of nose, and Uma Thurman. It gives that strong look. Fergie, she has a pretty short nose proportionately, but has some bump on that here, a little bit Greek nose. I have that kind of nose that the tip of my nose goes down a little bit like this. Candice Swanepoel, Victoria's Secret model. She has a shorter nose, but the tip of her nose is also going a little bit down. So this is another feature that makes her not this sweet, that gives her that a little bit of the edginess, especially when she smiles, you can see this. I hope I covered most of them, but it's impossible to talk about each and every nose because they are all different. But I just want you to look on that from that viewpoint, that the nose as a feature can be right or wrong. Nose is an addition to the look. It's one little detail. It's like one button on your shirt. Nose is that feature that really can make face look interesting, give that character to the face, give that edginess, or soften the look.
If I had that kind of nose, then I would look a little bit silly.
Because I have so many doll rounded features, small chin, puffy cheeks, then
that nose would really make a different lady out of me, you know?
Thank you so much, and in about 1 week I will make another video about nose contouring. Stay tuned, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.